It is Monday, December 3rd, 2012. We're live in the Wall Street Journal newsroom in New York. Today on WSJ Lunch Break, News Corp appoints Wall Street Journal managing editor Robert Thomson to lead its new independent publishing company. We're going to talk about that right now. I'm Wendy Bounds. Welcome to the show. We've got Jannarone joining me. How are you?
Hi, Wendy. How are you?
Busy weekend for you. You broke the news over the weekend. News Corp, we should, of course, say, owns the Wall Street Journal. Now, Robert Thomson taking over this new entity. Remind folks exactly what's going to be in the two pieces that are splitting off here.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So the company is going to split into basically an entertainment company, which we learned will be named Fox Group, and a publishing company, which contains the Wall Street Journal, various newspapers around the world, and that's going to keep the name News Corp. So what we learned this morning is that Robert Thomson, managing editor of the Journal, is going to take over as CEO of the publishing company. We learned a couple of other things too. His CFO is going to be a guy who's coming in from MGM. Of course, Robert has a background in journalism, so
right.
People were focused on this to try to figure out, who's going to be there, who's the finance guy going to be. Yeah, exactly. But I think now what everyone's trying to figure out is what's the strategy going to be. We didn't hear too much today about what the company's going to do once the split actually happens, which isn't going to happen, by the way, until probably middle of 2013.
But so, Robert takes his position as of January 1.
That's right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Jerry Baker is succeeding him. Tell us a little bit about Jerry.
So Jerry is currently Robert's deputy here at the Journal. He is gonna take over on the same day, I guess. This is, of course, several months before the split happens, but. Again, the big question is, what is the company going to do now that it's on its own?
Right. A lot of cash on hand the new publishing entity will have. What are folks saying they should be doing with that cash, John?
Well, I think there are probably divided views out there, but one thing that we can probably tell is that Rupert Murdoch is going to be looking at acquiring publishing businesses. In the last few weeks, we reported that News Corp, the big company as it is right now, looked at acquiring both Penguin and has approached CBS about its Simon & Schuster business. So there is a sense that sort of that acquisitions like those could happen, but at the same time, the overall profits of the company aren't expected to really grow much the next couple of years. So, to entice investors, analysts say it's likely that there's going to be some kind of a dividend to make the stock more appealing. But again, we don't know for sure, and that stuff hasn't been cleared up much today.
And very quickly, also a little bit of other news out of News Corp today. The Daily, its newspaper app. That sort of was at the forefront of pushing journalism into the app world, is closing.
That's right. That's right. So there had been speculation for a while about how long the Daily would continue to run, and that was a surprise that was announced this morning. But I think it might say something about the way the publishing company is going to have to operate now that it's on its own. Analysts I've spoken to point out that it's a little bit harder to, there's going to be much more disclosure, there's going to be more details. So if there's a part of the new company that's having a tough time, it's going to get noticed. And this is probably a positive sign for investors, because it seems that the company is acknowledging that there's some trouble there, and they're taking steps to fix it. So there could be more of this stuff in the works.
And John, very quickly, you don't think the Daily closing sort of bodes poorly for apps in general, for news organizations? Maybe more just the fact that a new one was created, a new entity, maybe getting the brand out there was not, just never worked for them.
Yeah, I think maybe, it was a bold move to try to, put in all of that cost, associated, with hiring all those journalists for, a publication that was exclusively for tablets. So maybe Murdoch was a little bit ahead of his time, but I don't think that it necessarily tells us that apps aren't going to work out anymore.
Right, and you don't see any of the other traditional brands backing away from apps. In fact, everybody's pushing into them, in the magazine world as well.
Yeah.
All right, a lot of news out of our newsroom here today, a lot of changes. Appreciate you being with us, John. More in the Wall Street Journal today.